Hey guys, Fever91, and I'm bringing you my review on The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. Now, this game was, of course, anticipated, and it was what people was waiting for a while, but did it get over the giant bump that was the disappointment of Season 2? Or did it fall flat? Let's find out. I'm going to start my review simply with all the good things. I'm just going to do this very simple. I'm going to start with all the great stuff that this game brought to the table, and then the not so great stuff will follow afterwards. Let's start, shall we? Now, one thing about this game that I really liked is that it was very different from the previous two. It wasn't just, let's try to find a place that's safe. From episode 1 onward, it was basically, let's move from this settlement to this settlement. Like, it made sense because it's 4 years into the zombie outbreak, and it makes sense that people are going to start actual towns. It was very cool to see that not only that people started towns and settlements and stuff, but other settlements and other towns knew about them. And how they handled the whole zombie threat is just kind of like normal now. I like that because it wasn't just like season 1, season 2, where people were trying to just move and stay safe. It was more like people are now actually setting up new systems of government and everything, and that's very nice. It's kind of like Woodbury in the comics. So it was a great addition to the games because it wasn't really seen much of. Even though they had Crawford, you almost never saw these settlements while they were thriving. It's like Prescott and the New Frontier, but one of the greatest additions to this game is the character development. The characters in general, they gave us such new characters. They weren't just rehashing old characters like another game did, season 2, but these characters were brand new characters. They had their own problems, they had their own personality. These characters like Tripp, Eleanor, Gabe, these were people you felt like you'd almost meet in real life, basically. That's how good these characters were compared to some of the characters in season 2, which won't be mentioned. But what A New Frontier brought to the table was characters that felt real. Like they were dealing with real problems. They had real personalities. And these characters are so enjoyable. And one of the best done characters was Conrad, because Conrad showed choices that matter. See, that was a complaint, I believe, in season 2. One of the biggest ones probably, that most of the choices didn't matter. But in season 2, you have choices that matter. And Conrad is the best example of that. Conrad can die in episode 2 if you shoot him. But he can also live all the way to the end and not die. And he can actually die constantly during the game, but you have to basically help him through that. If you don't give him the gun, he dies. If you don't get out of the way of the car, he dies again. So Conrad can die so many times, or he can live to the end. And it just showed, like, even little choices like getting out of the way of the car matter and stuff like that. And that was a real improvement, especially after season 2, where, let's face it, most of the choices didn't make much of a difference in the end. So I'm glad that Telltale finally brought us choices that actually impact the ending and the game in general. And speaking of choices, what I also like is because, let's face it, in the past, even season 1 had a little bit of this, where a lot of your choices didn't make much of a difference because the person died. But let's face it, in this one, the only main character that really dies in this one is Mariana, and she dies in episode 1. Now, I know some people may think this is kind of fakish, because let's face it, this is The Walking Dead, and people dying every 2 seconds, that's the thing. But I liked it, actually, that at the ending, it's possible to have basically every main character that lives past episode 2 still be alive. I like that, because that means your choices really matter. They talk to these people. It's not just, oh, it doesn't really matter because the person's about to die. See, when these people don't die, the choices actually matter. It was just so cool that at the end of the game, your choices actually made a difference because these people were actually alive. So that's why I really like that almost all the main characters can live or die. That's the thing. The only character I'm pretty sure that can't die is Kate. All the other characters, Gabe, David, even Javier, the protagonist, can die. But Kate can't die. That's the only main character. So it was good that Telltale brought us this ability to have so many different endings and to show us that our choices really did matter in the end of this particular game. But unfortunately, that is where the good part of these games end. And speaking of choices that matter, here is still one that Telltale can't get off their back. Almost no continuity. Choices that happened in season 1 and season 2 basically affect none of season 3. And I mean none. See, at the beginning of the game, Telltale asks you to choose how you treated Clementine or what lessons you taught her, right? I think I chose trusting others was a good lesson, right? But my Clementine in season 3 still seemed to trust nobody. She seemed to be like, no, I'm not trusting. Trust is gone. And I'm like, didn't I say that she trusted others? I was like, so what was the point of that beginning? It doesn't seem like it made any difference how Clementine was. And while we're on the topic, let's go to Clementine. Clementine, this was not the Clementine that a lot of people had, I believe. And that has to do with continuity as well. It seems like no matter what decisions you made in season 1 for Clementine playing as Lee, or season 2 as playing as Clementine, she's still basically the same person in New Frontier. No matter what you did, no matter what decisions you made, she's still the same type of person in New Frontier. So to me, I don't know what they were doing with that, because why would you have us make those choices if it seemingly they didn't go anywhere? They just didn't seem to go. And not only that, you guys, Telltale did something that I possibly really didn't think could be done. It kind of made me not like Clementine. That as we went through episodes, especially episodes up until episode 4, Clementine was a brat. I'm sorry for all you Clementine lovers, because I liked Clementine too, but she was such a brat up until episode 4. When I was playing as Javier, Clementine ruining almost everything you do, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It was just so bad half the time. Which leads me on to my next bad experience with The Walking Dead New Frontier. Now this one I've done before in season 2, and I'm gonna call them on it again. Lazy writing. I'm not calling the writers themselves lazy, but there were certain times where you could tell the writers seemingly kind of just rushed through things instead of actually writing in full stories. Such as the part where you're supposed to not like David because he made Clementine give up AJ. That doesn't make you not like David. I'm sorry. For most people, I don't think that scene made you not like David, because that made complete sense. Clementine is about to waste the last bit of their medicine on a 2-year-old who may die anyway. It made all logic sense in the world not to give him the medicine. And then when she accidentally spills on the floor, they don't even treat her bad. It's not like they just kicked her out like, what? You spilled the medicine, get out. No, they were pretty calm. David especially. David even gave her, sent Ava with like supplies in the drawing, it seems like. So I don't know. Were they just getting lazy? Because that didn't help with the whole trying to get us to hate David. And that's unfortunately not where the lazy writing ended. It ended, surprisingly, at the ending. This part of the game made me like, no, they're not doing this again. No, this isn't happening. No, not again. Did the writers really have to make season 2, the end of season 2, happen again? I mean, when I saw David, and when I saw what the writers were doing with him at the end there, first of all, it didn't make any sense. And this is why it's lazy writing. Because David, at the beginning of episode 5, or near the beginning, he's told Javier this is what makes sense to him. Basically, being at the New Frontier, basically running this place, security, soldiers, that's what made sense to him. And then he pulls up and says, let's go home. I'm like, what? This makes no sense whatsoever, because David in the past, see, people may say, oh, he just wanted to go back to where he felt home. He never felt home at home. He said that himself, basically, when he was talking to Javier in the flashback. He was like, I don't feel like home at home. I'm home at war. And even Kate says that. Like, war is his home, basically. And this is war. The walkers and everything, running the security, it's like running an army unit to him. So it didn't make sense. The ending made absolutely no sense that David would want to leave. And especially not go home, go to a place where he admitted he was unhappy, admitted he wanted to leave that place. He admitted that in the flashback. It just ruined so much of the game for me when that happened. And the only reason, let's face it, the only reason that happened was so that Javier and David could have their brawl. I mean, when Kate basically was like, I loved you and your brother just so that they could have that brawl. And I'm like, no. It reminded me so much of season 2, Jane versus Kenny, and it reminded me of the lazy writing that sometimes happens in this game. That scene made no sense. I'm sorry, I can't even wrap my head over that anymore. The ending, terrible. Sure, you can end it good, but how they forced David and Javier to fight like that and stuff like, it's just, it was awful. I'm sorry. That, just like with Knights of the Old Republic 2, how you could see how an ending can sometimes make what was mostly a good game bad. Yeah. This ending. Massive disappointment. But let's forget about all that. Forget about the lazy writing. Forget about Clementine. Forget about the predictability of this game, because let's face it, this game was predictable so many times, especially Mariana's death. You just saw that coming. People who have played Walking Dead games before saw that coming a mile away. It was too obvious. But let's forget about that. You want to know one of the biggest reasons why this game was subpar in my opinion? I feel like I played a giant filler. Now, what do I mean by that? I feel like none of Clementine's story has progressed. None. I feel like they were like, let's go with Javier, let's just have this story, have Clementine in, because let's face it, she wasn't even in it that much. This is supposed to be a continuation of Clementine's story, and it's like nothing happens. Nothing happens to progress her story. We find out Age is alive. At the end, she's gonna go after him. I feel like next season 4 is going to be the progression of Clementine's story, and I just played a giant filler. A giant just playing it for the sake of playing it, not to actually progress the story that I've been wanting to progress since the end of season 2. I feel like I just played a giant filler where Clementine was cameoing in, not even really a main character. So to me, she wasn't even like a main character in the story. She was cameoing. It was almost at the end when like I said, the ending, it felt like it was almost a giant waste of time. Almost. Because I'm like, at the ending when she just went to look for AJ, I'm like, wait a minute. So that's really where her continuation of the story is really going, not what I just played. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, Telltale. You got to be kidding me. Whew. All right. So my review, I gotta give this a 5.5 out of 10. I'm sorry, but it can't even get a 6. It's not exactly halfway, because like I said, the characters, choices that matter, they definitely improved from season 2, but no, just no. Too many things were wrong, and too many things were wrong from season 2 that they didn't fix. So 5.5. Hey, what do you guys think about this game? I mean, did you guys really enjoy it? Was this all you were hoping for? Do you guys think of me that Telltale kind of tried, and they definitely improved on some things, but they fell short once again? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and may God bless you all.